of how I move things back and forth from Lightroom Classic here into Evoto to edit and then back. So I just took this as a recent shoot. What I normally do is I go in and I flag for delete all of the ones that I know are obvious mistakes, and then I ask the client to make their selects. So I faked it this time and just picked some at random, basically to kind of say these are the ones that, let's say I'm going to go through and edit. What I like to do is I select all the ones I'm going to go through and edit, and I look at them. Sometimes I don't need to do Evoto on them, and if you look at some of these up close, like I'm not sure I need to on a couple of these because either the skin or something is not showing, or I don't need to fix the background. So if I look at this one, this one, probably don't need to use Evoto, which is why I like to have the workflow in both, where clearly this one needs some backdrop help, that needs some backdrop help, and this can use the editing help. So what I do is I mark the ones that go to Evoto. So I select the ones I want to send to Evoto, and just for fun, I usually use blue. I'm not sure why, but that's what I do. So then I can tell which ones I edited in Evoto and which ones I did straight in Lightroom. Okay, so if I then select just these, this is where the process really starts. So I go over here to File, Export as a Catalog, and I have a folder called Evoto Lightroom Catalogs. Doesn't matter where it is. And then I pick, so this is, let's see, Demo Workflow. Oops, and down here, I definitely want to only use the selected photos. I don't need them all to go, although it's not a problem if they do. I don't need anything else. I don't want the negative files. I don't need previews. I don't need any of that, right? So I just export it. Okay, so what's happened now is there's another Lightroom catalog file out there that literally just has these 5 pictures in it, pointed to the same place where they're living today on my hard drive over here. So then, if I pop over to Evoto and create a new project, okay, it comes up with this screen, right? And from here, I want to import as a Lightroom catalog. So I click this one. I go to the same spot where I just created that. Where you go, Demo Workflow. Select that Lightroom catalog. And from here, it's sort of the normal import process. Go ahead and let it bring them in. Okay, so now these 5 files are here. And in the background, nothing moved. If you think about it as sort of a bunch of reference pointers, like everything just is pointing back to the original place where, let me show you my internal hard drive in the September 13 directory. So that's where these live, which is exactly where they live. If I went back here, I mean, they live in the exact same spot, right? So nothing moved. So now what I do, just if I'm in editing, I have my normal preset, which in this case, it fixed the background. I'd probably play with the clothing, so do a little, that's probably too much. Whatever edits you're gonna do, you go through and do those edits. We won't spend a ton of time on that because the key here is the workflow. Let's just let these generate some of that so you can see that there's a difference when we go back into Lightroom. So you can see here, it fixed the background, did some edits. Here, fixed the background, did some edits. Ooh, this looks really cool. This did an amazing job fixing the background and cleaning up the floor. That looks perfect. And that looks perfect. Okay, so these are done from an Evoto perspective. Let's call it done. I select them all and I go to export. And here you have 2 choices, right? As image or as LRCat file. So I'm gonna go with Lightroom catalog. So what this is gonna do, I have it set up to generate, I keep the name the same. I want it to be a TIFF file. So I use TIFF 18-bit. You could use higher if you want, but I don't. TIFF 18-bit. I don't change anything else. And what it's gonna do when I say export, it's actually gonna generate and put those files in the same directory, that September 13th directory. That's where they're gonna go. right? Because that's where everything's kind of pointed. So it's done. So now I go back to Lightroom. Okay, nothing's changed. I haven't done anything yet. At this point, they're in the same directories as these original raw files, but my Lightroom catalog doesn't know that yet. So what I have to do is go here, say import from another catalog, right? Pick the one we've been working on, which is this demo workflow, right? And we sent 5 files over. So when this comes back, it says there's new 5 files, right? So that's the new TIFF files that it created from Evoto. It's important I say here, I want to add them to the catalog, but don't move anything. Just add them. It's sort of like when, if you're familiar with Lightroom, it's just like using the import function with add as opposed to copy. It also made a note that it's going to change the 5 existing ones, and it's going to change them in a very good way. It's going to stack them for us. So if I just leave that, that's just all I want to do is the metadata and development settings and leave that alone. Say import. And there we go. So now it's told us about these, now we've told Lightroom about these 5. The one weird thing, and this is for me, I like to keep XMP files as well. And so as soon as I add these new images to my Lightroom catalog, it doesn't match the XMP file. That's a quirk that I have. If you don't use those external XMP files, don't worry about it. But if you do, this is what happens. All you have to do is select them all, click this little exclamation point, and say import settings from disk, and it just pulls that in. Okay. The next thing I do, I go back to that directory, I select my selects, I go to the blue ones, because I know those are the only ones I sent to Evoto. I go to metadata, which this is an optional step. You don't have to do this. I go to file type. So now we have the 5. This is what came from Evoto, the 5 TIFF files. You can see all the backgrounds. The easiest thing to see is they're clean. Here's the raw files, they're not. So at this point, what I do is I take these raw files and I remove that flag. So now, when I say, oops, get rid of the blue, show me all my selects, it has these first 5 selects, which are TIFF files from Evoto, and then these 3 are the raw files we didn't touch. And from here, I can finish and do whatever I need to do. So that's the workflow to move things back and forth. Eventually, you have to clean up. So when you're all done, I generally move these to another place. I delete the Evoto catalog that I just created. That's right, the Evoto project that I created. By the way, when you delete the catalog, you don't want to delete the files, which is an option. And then I can show you actually. Let's do that real quick. So if you go here in the library, this is the one we're just working on. I can say delete, and boom, it goes to the recycle bin. And that's all you have to do. Back here in Lightroom, everything is the way it is. These files are still here. If you don't believe me, we can go in Finder, and there they are. So hopefully that helps. And then obviously, of course, over time, I go back and clean up. I clean up the intermediate Lightroom catalog files we created. But that's what I do. Hope that helps.